Johanson. If you're Canadian, you probably know who she is quite well, especially if you're Canadian of my age group. You know who she is. If you're an American, you might. I don't know how popular she was in the States. I know she was pretty popular up here in Canada, especially in like the 90s and like early 2000s. She had a show. If you were, this was back when cable was a thing. If you were like a, if you were a late night, night owl like I was, you'd be, you know, going through the channels and you just happen to catch her up on one of the nonsense networks. And she's just funny. She would talk about just absurd sexual stuff because she had a call-in show, so people would call in and they would, they'd have questions, and I'm sure there was a lot of trolls. They were calling in with like bullshit questions just to fuck her up. But she would answer them, and she would answer them like deadpan. There was no no joke, no nothing. She'd grab a dildo and she'd be putting the condom on it. She'd showing how to properly jack it off and all kinds of crazy stuff. It was hilarious to watch. But at the same time, she was quite, I'm sure, I'm sure for people that had legit questions, she was like she was a thing out there. She was a force for good for those people that needed those questions answered back before it was, back before you could get it in a grade school library. And I say that with disgust. But yeah, it wasn't so easy to get this kind of information. The internet wasn't really, in the 90s, the internet wasn't really a thing. So it wasn't like you could just, look up weird sexual stuff. If you had some kind of like question about something, you got some itchy bumps on your ding ding. You know, you can't look that shit up on the internet. Can't look it up on WebMD. What is it? You gotta call in Sue Johanson. And she'll tell you straight face. Not even gonna make a joke about it. She's not gonna make you feel small or insignificant or anything about your little itchy ding ding. So she was fun. She was fun to watch. She died at 93. I'm gonna read this article a little bit. It's a tiny little article. It's Washington Post, so again, garbage, but it says Sue Johanson, beloved Canadian sex educator who broke taboos, dies at 93. So she was best known for her straight talking attitude to sex in both her native Canadian and United States. Died Wednesday. This is last Wednesday at 93. Okay, so she died in a care home in Thornhill, Ontario. So it's not very far from where I am. She was a registered nurse and began her path to the career that would uh, make her name in the 1970s when she opened up a birth control clinic at a high school in Toronto. I didn't know that. And began traveling across Ontario to offer sex education. In the 1980s, she found a wider audience through her phone-in show on a local radio station, and later with Canada's Sunday Night Sex Show television program she hosted between 96 and 2005. Its success led to a U.S. spin-off, Talk Sex with Sue Johanson, in 2002. Despite her unassuming appearance, the married grandmother would answer viewers' questions live on air about sex and discuss sex toys, some of which she made herself. I mean, yeah, she would act. I remember that she would make her own toys. She'd be like, "Oh, you can use, if you don't have such and such, you can use this. You can use this thing here. You can use, whatever you want. You just clitoris with this thing, and then you can." It was hilarious. If you can catch some uh, old clips of her show, or even the whole show, do it. It's funny watch. But sadly, sorry, Grandma Johansson. It's thanks for all the sex talk when I was a kid and the laughs, but we're sorry to see you go.